Welcome into First Pitch for Monday, June 19th. I am Drew Martin, joined by Brian Power, Marco D'Angelo, and Tony Finn of WagerTalk.com. Guys, we got big game breakdown and best bets for the Monday slate coming to you. Heading to our leadoff hitter up first, Brian Power. Brian, big weekend this past weekend, man. I'm seeing a 4-0 MLB streak. Stay hot, my friends, plus 60% profit since last year. MLB playoffs. He's number one at Wager Talk in that time frame. So, Brian, I'll throw it over to you here, man. I'm seeing a little Rocks versus Reds, Colorado at Cincinnati. Speaking of hot, the Cincinnati Reds. What are you looking to do here, Colorado at Cincy?
Yeah, Drew, the Reds are the hottest team in baseball right now. 8 straight wins. We all know that, and I'm very excited. Hopefully, some of the close listeners know this as well. I'm holding a 19-1 ticket on this Reds team to win the NL Central right now, and I'm feeling pretty good about that because they're currently just 1.5 game off the division lead. They're even with Milwaukee in the win column. And you talk about those division odds. I just mentioned I bet them at 19-1 2 weeks ago. They're now just 5-1. So there's been a massive change in the market during this win streak with the Reds. And it's their longest win streak since a 10-game run back in 2012, which, ironically enough, it's the last time they won the division. I know some of these recent wins have been close. In fact, I think the Reds now have the most comeback wins in all of baseball. But there's no denying, if you watch the games, there is an enthusiasm surrounding this team. They just swept the Astros in Houston over the weekend, which, let's not sugarcoat that. I mean, prior to the Reds, no team had swept the Astros all season. And you look at the Reds season as a whole. They started 7-15, okay? Since then, they're playing 600 ball. They're 30-20 over their last 50 games. Now they come back home off a 9-game trip, and it's a big drop in class facing Colorado, a team that's lost 5 in a row, was just swept by the Braves over the weekend. Not even an early 5-0 lead was safe Sunday with this Rockies pitching staff. They lose the game 14-6. And the Rockies now 13-26 on the road this season. That's nothing new. If you follow this franchise, they always have pretty drastic home road splits. I have them comfortably rated as the National League's worst team. And you compound everything for Colorado with the fact that Austin Gomber's starting on Monday. It is shocking to me that the team is 7-7, Drew, when he's on the mound, because his ERA is 7.29. His whip is 1.69. Those numbers have actually gotten worse recently. And this Reds lineup has scored 19 runs over the last 2 days. Williamson, okay, he's not the best starter either for the Reds. I know starting pitching is kind of maybe the one question mark for Cincy moving forward. But Williamson's, when he starts, the Reds are 5-1. He's backed by one of baseball's best bullpens. And the Rockies, they score just 3.6 runs per game on the road. These are two teams trending in very different directions. I know it's a little chalky for some, but if you're playing this game, I think you got to look at the Cincinnati Reds here on Monday in the series opener.
Absolutely, Brian. Hottest team in baseball. Brian Power again 4-0 in MLB. Hot as well. Our 2-hole hitter, Marco D'Angelo. Speaking of big plays here, guys, rare 5% MLB play up, and he's 42-27 on those 4% and higher plays since April 1st. And longer term here, Marco, 224 and 185. Long term, guys. That's a heck of a streak. So, Marco, I'm seeing big game breakdown. Boston and Minnesota here. A lot going on with the Sunday night fade in effect. Yet, I don't know. I guess Boston's been playing a lot better. Interesting handicap. I'll throw it over to you, Marco.
Yeah, no question. Boston's playing good baseball right now. They've won 4 in a row. But Drew, you started it off, the old Sunday night ESPN angle. You got Boston coming off playing last night, now have to travel on a Monday. That's never a good situation. But what makes it even better is they played not 1, but 2 yesterday. They played a doubleheader because they had to make up for that game on Saturday. So you had one of those rare day-night doubleheaders for Boston, and now they got to go on the road. Oh, wait, did I forget to mention who they just swept? Their arch rival, the New York Yankees. Now, I'm never going to say a team's going to throw the towel and just roll over and play dead. But, man, if there was ever a bad spot for one that you just, mail it in on, that would be tonight, coming off that big series over the weekend with the Yankees. And not only did they sweep them in New York, if you remember, they played last weekend as well in Boston, and they took 2 out of 3. So I got to say it, Boston's on fat and sassy alert after what they've accomplished this weekend. Now they're playing a Minnesota Twins team that obviously has been a little bit of a disappointment in the way they've been playing. They lost 3 out of 4 over their last 4 games, and it was against Detroit, which makes it look even worse. But I'm looking at a 1-game situation, and I think all of that favors Minnesota. And we're catching them with their pitcher tonight on the mound, Pablo Lopez. I'm a big horse guy. Every time I see this guy pitch, I want to call him Paco Lopez for the jockey. But he has been pitching very well the last 2 starts. He's gone 13 innings now, allowing just 4 runs. But what impressed me is his strikeout to walk ratio in those last 2 starts, 15-2 on strikes to walkouts. And when you see a guy with a split like that, that tells me he was in full command of all of his pitches in those 2 starts, taking care of the hitters. I think this is a 1-game situation. I'm looking at Minnesota. Be honest with you, if this game was tomorrow and Boston had today off, I might not have the play. But because of the situation, I got to look at the Minnesota Twins tonight.
Little situational schedule matchup there for Marco D'Angelo. Guys, a reminder, rare 5% play up, $9 Monday, normally $35, discounted to just $9. Marco D'Angelo, WagerTalk.com. We got our power portion of the lineup up next. Tony Finn, guys. Tijuana Tony by some. And Tony, I am seeing the Jays and Berrios here versus the Marlins. What are we looking to do in the fish tank tonight?
What we're looking to do in the fish tank is really all we have to do in the fish tank is to look at the early part of this game. I almost suggested we just go a 3-inning stretch for this game that's going to be played in South Beach, and the starters Berrios and Hoeing. Hoeing, you're going to read a lot of pretty things and nice butt slaps for Hoeing and what he's done after really struggling last year as an emergency starter and then working out of the bullpen for the rest of the season. A guy had the ERA above 10, at least a 4-digit ERA, above 10 ERA. And this is a guy that's benefited from basically balls hit and play. He has an acceptable K rate, guys, but they're low leverage strikeouts. And all things said, you're going to see 3 innings from Hoeing tonight because it's 244 first time through the batting order. Batting average against jumps to over almost 500 the second time through. He just doesn't fool anybody. He doesn't create chases. If you wanted to look at maybe a StatCast, a sabermetrics, his numbers are below average in every single important category, save barrels. He's done a pretty good job of missing, at least avoiding barrels too, because his average exit velocity on his primary pitch is almost 95 miles an hour, which is what? It's what qualifies hard contact. Miami's played pretty well. They have. They're 10 games of a 500, first time since 2011, or the second best start for them since the 1997 season, and that was the season that they won the World Series. Berrios has made a couple changes. First off, if you look at his numbers, tremendous numbers. His K rate's down a little bit from last year, but he's moved back to his slurve. He's throwing that slurve about 31% of the time, and then he pitches this. Then he uses his sinker second. He's a 4-pitch pitcher, with the slurve now being the 31% pitch, and he's got he's in a career mark right now of hard contact, or should I say, he's getting soft contact. He doesn't strike out as many as he did last year, but that soft contact, along with the fact that not walking what he used to, and that the confidence, you can just see it that he's exuded it compared to last year, which he really struggled. It didn't seem like he really felt comfortable at all in the 22 season. So they're 7-1. 7-1 in his last 8 starts. Toronto, he has really single-handedly kept them in this East race that the Rays have kind of jumped out and run away with. And even now, with the Yankees, we talked a little bit about the Yankees, they're slumping. It's Baltimore in second place, and Baltimore playing really good baseball too. Somehow, some way, that lineup of guys that are far from household names or household ticket items, as far as wanting to hire one of them to promote your product. it's this Blue Jays team. They're capable of putting up big numbers offensively, and if they can if they can figure out what's wrong with Bassett, they just need Bassett to be able to pitch 6 capable 3-4 run innings, and I think they're pretty set with the 3-man rotation. But Bassett looks worse and worse every start, as we saw yesterday when he got a nice lead, he blew it. But tonight, Berrios home. This is a game where Toronto's been better on the road, believe it or not, offensively. They shouldn't be, because they've actually made some changes to their own park that were supposed to be to help them offensively, at least offensive numbers. Bichette having a great season, and I really expect this game to maybe start a little slow. Once they make this a bullpen game, you're going to find Toronto doing what they do well, and that's making hard contact. They haven't been that fortunate this year, but I think Toronto, along with one other game tonight, are the most probable winners on the board. Give me Berrios and the Blue Jays in South Beach.
Tony Finn, check him out, WagerTalk.com, on a 14-4 MLB prop run. So seeing it well on the diamond. Guys, it is best bet time. We're going to go around the horn here. Feel free to chime in on the live chat what you're looking to bet. And if you're watching on replay, feel free to reply below, guys. Any questions, we'll answer them as the show goes on this week. Any handicapping questions, MLB questions, all is welcome. So best bet time. I'm going to start off 8:10 Eastern here. We got the Arizona Diamondbacks and the Milwaukee Brewers. We get Merrill Kelly versus Corbin Burns. Merrill Kelly here, not as big of a name as Corbin Burns. He hasn't won a Cy Young, but last time out against the Brewers, he carried a no-hitter into the 7th inning. He's 7-0 since April 22nd. So he's changing speeds very well. He's missing bats. So he's a guy I'm looking to bet on. And Corbin Burns, he's a guy I've faded pretty, as far as I can remember this season, and it's been profitable. Now, he has won a couple games of late, but still, I don't think he's the same Corbin Burns that we saw, the former Cy Young winner. And it shows in the numbers, guys. He's not missing bats at the same rate. His K rate under 9 per 9, whereas his career average was over 11. So it's in the numbers. That's through 14 starts this season. And we get the better offense here with Arizona as well. So at a plus money price, get it plus 105, widely available. Looking at the WagerTalk live odds screen, risk 100 to win 105 on the Diamondbacks tonight for my best bet. We'll head back to the top of the order here with Brian Power. Guys, again, he's on a 4-0 MLB streak, plus 60% profit here since last year MLB playoffs. That's number 1 in that time frame at WagerTalk.com. And Brian, I'll throw it over to you, man. Best bet. Any final thoughts you want to throw out there to the listeners? And have at it, Brian.
Thanks, Drew. No, you said it right there. Coming off a great weekend, swept Saturday and Sunday, 6-1 overall in all sports. And then tonight you can grab both of my plays for just $9. Of course, $9 Monday at WagerTalk. So that's both plays for $9, not $9 individually. Best bet. Marco hit this game already. Boston and Minnesota. I am not going to disagree with anything Marco said about this game. In fact, I'm pretty much going to agree with everything he said. I, too, am looking to face Boston. It is a massive letdown spot coming off the sweep of the Yankees. If you fade the road team coming off Sunday Night Baseball on Monday this season, you'd be 5-1. 3 of the last 4 teams to win on Sunday Night Baseball have lost the following day. That's presuming they play on Monday. The Red Sox themselves are already 0-2 in this situation, guys, including just last week. Marco mentioned this is the second week in a row they played the Yankees. Well, what did they do last Monday? They lost 4-3 to Colorado, who's very bad. Boston overall on Mondays, 1-8 this season. And making matters even tougher, again, as Marco pointed out, the Sox played a doubleheader Sunday. So that makes this already hard spot even worse. Having to hit the road doesn't help matters. Obviously, I mentioned earlier, if you're on the road Monday after playing the Sunday night game, that's an automatic disadvantage. Well, Boston, guys, has some of the most dramatic home road splits in all of baseball. They average 5.9 runs per game at Fenway this season. Second highest scoring home team in all of baseball. Only Texas is putting up more in home games. On the road, Boston only averages 4.1 runs per game. And in their last 5 road games, they've been held to 3 runs or fewer every time. Now they go to Target Field. Visiting teams do not score much at this ballpark, guys. Just 3.8 runs per game this season. I look at the bullpens for the Twins and the Red Sox. I give a slight edge to the Twins at home. I look at the 2 starters. I give an edge to the Twins as well. Pablo Lopez, he's coming off back-to-back quality outings. The Twins are 6-1 in his 7 home starts this season. I know that Boston has been really impressed with James Paxton, how he's pitched of late. But look who his last two starts were against. Cleveland, terrible lineup. Colorado, another weak lineup because it was on the road. And I talked about earlier how much worse the Rockies are offensively on the road versus at Coors. It's been the story of the entire franchise history. I know it was a disappointing weekend for the Twins. They lose 3 of 4 to a bad Detroit team. I know the Twins are only 500 for the year, and people are going to say, oh, if they were in the AL East and the Red Sox were in the AL Central, yeah, whatever. The Twins have a plus 34 run differential. I think they're a deserved favorite, a deserved first-place team in the AL Central. It's a great situation, especially given the spot their opponents are in. Fire on the Minnesota Twins Monday. They should win big here.
Brian Power bringing the heat. I love the home road splits too. Brian, follow-up question for you. You said the Sunday night baseball team, if you bet against it, like the Sunday night fade, is 5-1. I think we're more than 6 weeks in, but that's because not all the weeks there's been a Sunday night fade. Is that the reason why?
It's road teams who are playing
Okay.
Monday, if they played Sunday, are 1-5. So yeah, not everyone plays. Obviously, you don't always get this spot every week, but it's if you fade just the road team on Mondays, you'd be 5-1 this year.
Wow, I like. Is that something you're going to continue kind of circling and maybe blind betting here going forward? Is that something you think has legs?
I mean, I'll have my eye. I mean, it's a great supplement. I mean, you have to always examine the matchup. But yeah, I mean, it's certainly, it makes sense, right? Like some of these trends sometimes can just get a little wacky. You're like, it's a coincidence. But I mean, it makes a ton of sense, right? We've all been hitting. We know it's one of the great situations. And yeah, and again, a double header too just makes it so much harder for this Red Sox team on Monday.
Yeah. Marco brought that up. Doubleheader after the Yankees. Like the breakdown. Brian Power, 4-0 MLB, 60% profit. Number 1 in MLB since last year's playoffs. Check it out, $9 Monday. Speaking of $9 Monday, want to take advantage of discounts, guys? Go check out Marco D'Angelo, WagerTalk.com. That rare 5% play, Marco. You got it teed up there, man, and 42 and 27 on those 4% and higher since the beginning of April. Again, guys, only $9. Marco D'Angelo, WagerTalk.com. Marco, I'm seeing you're heading to South Florida as well, man. The Blue Jays heading down south, facing the Fish. What are we looking to do for best bets, and any final thoughts here for the show?
Yeah, Drew, this is a bad spot for Miami. I like to fade teams when they return home from a road trip, and I get that Miami's playing great baseball right now, 12-3 over the last 15 games. But let's look at what they've got to do. They're completing a road trip where they started out by going to Chicago and playing the White Sox. Not a good team, I want to point out. Then they go all the way out west as far as you can go to the great Northwest and play Seattle, a team that a lot of people expected to be a contender this year. They've been a little bit of a disappointment thus far. And then you got to travel all the way back cross country and play a weekend series against Washington. And we know how bad the Nationals are. Now they return home. So the travel situation screams to go against them. And oh, by the way, that 12-3, as good as they've been against some bad teams, as I pointed out, one of those 3 losses were the last time they returned home, the first game of a homestand after a road trip. So again, a situation that I always like to look at. Now let's bring in Toronto, and you've got Jose Barrios is just pitching great baseball. He's had 8 straight games where he's allowed 3 runs or less. Even more impressive, half of those 8 starts, he allowed 0 or 1 run. That is a huge advantage heading into this one, facing the Miami starter, as Tony mentioned, that's going to be there for generally 2 or 3 innings, and that's it. And then you're going to have to deal with the bullpen. And like I said, with all the travel and everything else, huge advantage for Toronto. But here are some stats for you. Now, both of these teams, amazingly, have been very good in interleague play. Miami is 16-5 in interleague play, and I think part of that is because, like Seattle, whenever you're playing a team from the other conference, American League versus National League or vice versa, that travel to those destinations is tough. And going to South Beach is, generally a long trip for a lot of interleague teams. And then, as you know, Drew, there's just maybe one or two distractions down there when you're at South Beach. So they've got a good interleague record, but Toronto's been just as good. Toronto's 12-5 in interleague play. But here's where the separation comes. You look at Miami against American League East opponents the last 3 seasons, just 3-21. Whereas Toronto, flipping that around to National League East opponents, they're 23-9. And give you a little stat on Berrios. When he starts for his team, the last 3 seasons, his team has recorded a 32-14 record, and that includes 9-5 already this season. So that trend is continuing. And Miami, off of a game where their bullpen gave up no earned runs, they're just 33-49 in their next game. I'm going to go ahead, take Toronto. This is one where my best bet's going to be a first 5-inning wager because I think we've got the huge advantage with the starting pitchers. So I'm going to go first 5 innings with Toronto officially here on the show. But I can tell you, I have no problem with Toronto full game as well. But the best bet for the show is Toronto first 5. If you don't want to lay that juice, I don't have a problem either with laying a half a run.
In the first 5, bring down that number for Marco D'Angelo there, looking towards the Jays in South Florida. And guys, reminder, rare 5% play from Marco, up and available, discounted to just $9 for $9 Monday at WagerTalk.com. Huge shout out to the chat box. We got Gold Sheet Best Bet coming in, Tony Finn as well. Paul asking, who do you like tonight in the Mets-Astros game? Actually, Tony's got that circled for his best bet. We got a couple other questions here. Chuck saying, do you like the Padres in San Francisco coming home after the 6-0 road trip? I do like the Padres, and thanks for the question here. Michael Walker's been hot in the Padres 7-3, their last 10. So the Giants, hey, they're hot at home. I'm not loving it because I don't like stepping in front of teams on a 7-0 streak there, and they got a good bullpen, but the Padres have a good bullpen as well. And I've had the Pods circled as, hey, when they find it offensively, which they have of late, look to bet on them. So I got a small bet on the Padres, small plus price there. So thanks for the questions, guys. We got the Gold Sheet Best Bet. I'll hit it now, guys. Is that Brandon Donovan, the St. Louis Cardinal, over 2.5 runs, hits, RBIs in our nation's capital against the Nationals. Donovan has 12 hits in his last 7 games. All 13 of Donovan's extra base hits have come against right-handed pitching, so that sets up well-handedness of pitcher. And Donovan has a .388 on base percentage in June, so he's been hot. Look to go over on that prop bet. Tony Vinn, speaking of prop bets, you're 14-4, man. Heck of a run here on the diamond with the MLB props. I'll throw it over to you for any final thoughts for the show. And the question here, I see you got it circled for your best bet.
Yeah, the question is, I like the Mets, and I'll tell you why. And secondly, I'll remind everyone I do have a dead president's report tonight. It's the only play I have. One game. I have several positions inside that game. It's a game I'm giddy about. Let's use that word. I'm giddy about it, but I think there's some advantages that we can take advantage of and get plus money on not only props as well as a potential. I like a same game parlay. But we'll get to the Mets. We're going to get to Matt Scherzer and his opposition tonight, the Houston Astros at Minute Maid. And he's facing a pretty nice rookie, to say the least, about this kid, a kid that hasn't given up any home runs since, or at least hadn't given up home runs at home this season. And there's a lot of talk about Scherzer, and maybe he's not going to be the same pitcher. That maybe they caught him using some sticky stuff again, a little bit of a tussle with the umpires, washed his hands, did this, did that, and didn't look very good. Let's put it this way. In the Subway Series, last time out against the Yanks. In fact, he lasted 3.1 innings. And we're going to do what I like to do. It makes it much easier, and that is sometimes you toss a game, in the trash, or you toss to the curb, and you look at the bigger picture. And games like that will happen even to guys like Scherzer. Sure, Scherzer is not who he was 3-4 years ago. But if you look at his numbers, right now, and I'm not big on, player-pitcher past history, but there's certain situations where I think it matters. And in this situation, I was talking to a coworker of mine about this game, and he was saying, "Well, Scherzer is he's not the same pitcher he was a couple 3 years ago." Well, when you look at these numbers, like against Abreu and Altuve and Bregman and those guys, they're not the same hitters they were 3 years ago. Long story short is he's slashing 218, 259, 291 against this Houston group. Altuve, 5 singles and 1 double and 20 at-bats and 5 strikeouts. I'm sorry, that's Abreu. Altuve is 4 singles, 4 strikeouts, and 20 at-bats. And then Bregman doesn't even have a hit in 5 at-bats. He has 3 strikeouts and 1 walk, and it goes on and on. He dominated. And the last time he faced these guys was in 2021, about 2 years ago, not quite 2 years ago, and he dominated them. Then you go back to 2019 when I believe he was playing for Washington. They won the World Series, and again he beat up on the Houston hitters. His batting average against isn't great, but if you look at his overall body of work this year, he's been good. He's been the same Scherzer. He's not getting the strikeouts. He doesn't get the swing and misses that he had 4 years ago. But he's facing a Houston team without their best hitter. At least I believe he'll be out again, right? And they haven't been very good hitting the ball. Look at their numbers overall this season, and they've won by out pitching their opponents, not out hitting them. Anytime I can get Scherzer as a road puppy against a rookie, now let's give this rookie some credit. A good rookie, I'm still going to be on Scherzer over Brown tonight in Houston. Give me the road puppy, Max Scherzer, and the Mets to steal or continue the pain that Houston's feeling right now from a 4-game sweep by the Reds. Scherzer and the Mets.
Different colored eyes and all on Mad Max Scherzer from Tony Finn there, guys. Check him out, WagerTalk.com. $9 Monday. 5% play up for Marco. Brian Power been seeing it well on the diamond, 4-0 over the weekend. And Tony Finn, 14-4 MLB prop run. His Dead Presidents Report is up and available. So for Tony Finn, Brian Power, Marco D'Angelo, guys, I am Drew Martin. Huge shout out to the over 300 people watching live on the Wager Talk YouTube channel. If you could help us out, smash that like button. Feel free to comment below. Guys, that does it for the Monday show. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. Come back and join us. Cash those tickets. Thanks for tuning in.